Little gravitrons. I'm more gravity. Let's play chess. This game ended in a draw by way of timeout versus insufficient material. It's probably full of blunders and misses and mistakes in the last 20 or 30 moves. Take at least a quick look at that game, and then I'm going to walk through. Actually, before I walk through any of this game ended due to my opponent just let the time run out. But I had a strong advantage when that happened. So let's see if we can close this out against computer. Knight's gonna king captured. That's also fine. I get the knight here. And what does he have for us down on our end of the map? I think white is best to play king e2. Let's see that. The computer on maximum is capturing on a2 with the rook. Just capture. And we're going. We forced our position. He's the guy leaves his position open and just 3 minutes tick by. Next thing I know, the computer on maximum is throwing free rooks at me. This is not the game I thought I was playing. But let's take a look at white's other options after rook takes a2 by black. There's the possibility of an exchange sacrifice. King takes d3, rook takes a1. And that doesn't look all that scary. White will get his knight out in time to cover the bishop on c1, protect the bishop on c1. So king takes d3 is an idea. I would say maybe knight c5 check. At worst, knight c5 check, and then white will get the knight maybe by a different means, or might drag the knight towards it, and then get the exchange by way of capturing the the rook that's now can't be followed with a threat. I don't know how to say it. We drag the attacker away from his best line of attack, basically. We noticed that the bishop on c1 is hanging. And I think actually, let's go back a step here, folks. Knight to d3. How about king d1? Right? This is another line. This says that's a blunder because you can push or kick the knight away. King d1. Even better, king f1. That's got to be the move. Yeah. So this is good. White is protecting the f2 pawn against the threat of capture, but not just the capture really, but the rook on h1 is hemmed in. It doesn't even need to. The rook doesn't even need to be forked with the king to be lost. So this is a serious danger. And the computer's next played pawn to f5, showing that maybe there's some real long-term threat on f2, because look at the placement of the knight. He's almost unassailable. If white can't get a strong challenge in against that knight, he's just going to be sitting there for all too long. The knight on g1 isn't there quickly. This being a square without backup even. This is the knight on d3 here. Makes me think if there's a way I could sacrifice even a full piece, I might do it to break up his hegemony in this part of white's board. feel like pawn b3 might be good enough. Oh, my knight is hanging. Okay. This is I'm about 3 points on the progress bar to the better against the computer on maximum, and there are quite a few pieces left on the board, quite a few pawns left on the board. This is the type of position where top human players will just be manhandled uh, away from winning or drawing. So I'm going to take that as a cue. I was glad to get the win, but it would have been nice to have played the game. So we also played this game out to draw by way of timeout versus insufficient material. Did black have better during that game? He sure did. In and around here, black has a good lead on the progress bar. However, both sides are in a little bit of time crunch. So get my exchange to put me ahead on material on the G4 square there. And I think we handled a lot of this. We, meaning me, myself, and I, the old royal we. We handled a lot of this. Well, this is actually. This was scary. I have to say, white's best move here. Rook takes G6 check. This is scary. Looks like white's on the verge of breaking through, and I played the one good move to play, and it looks like white's kind of got something going with the H6 pawn being a promotion threat. The rook on G6 is right up next to our highness, his highness, the royalty, the king on H7, and the bishop on F7 is supporting that aggression. So what did I do here? I played this kind of senseless check, maybe not, maybe on the E file, and that pushes my opponent's king to a more active position. This is a bad move. Rook to E1. I mean, Torch likes it as far as computer best with the star, but in my opinion, this is still a bad move. I made it So I'm against both Torch and me back then, but what it doesn't accomplish anything for black. It puts white's king closer to the action, not farther. It you could if followed up correctly, maybe. Let's think about that. Uh, Rook from e1 to h1. Now we've got enough pieces on the h pawn to liquidate it. Let's try that. I think that's a good idea. Good enough to play this game out from here in practice. Black to move. I think rook to h1 is strong. It's noted as an inaccuracy probably because I wonder if I could get this off in time. Yeah, I get the trade of pawns in a better way. Now rook to h1 still an inaccuracy. I'm surprised. Let's see what. So the computer wants this trade first, and then just a simple threat on the bishop. We're threatening this bishop because he can no longer maintain defense of the rook on g6. After the bishop's gonna flee to one square or another. So let's play this out. With this direct threat on the bishop. Now once the bishop goes away, we tack in this check. We throw in this attack against the bishop again. Not good, Jord. How about perhaps just king takes rook, the bishop's off the board, but so is white's h6 pawn. We've got pretty much the exchange as our advantage. King, it looks like you might want to play pawn to d5. I'm worried there about. I'm worried, for instance, I'm worried about pawn d5, bishop to a2, king g5, for instance, king d4, king f5, and then just bishop takes d5, and white has won a pawn for no reason. Another possibility would be pawn to d5, bishop to a2, and then push here with pawn to d4 onto a dark square where white cannot attack the pawn with his bishop at least. So we're gonna play that route. I can't see anything beating that right yet. Maybe not. So this was the position in question. We're gonna get our king more active. So rook and two pawns versus bishop and two pawns is going to be a highly technical, long endgame for black to pursue correctly, and mostly hints versus computer on maximum. So this is just, I think, the what to say about this position for black. This is not an easy win. This is just not an easy win. That's it. So let's go back to. I got the draw. We'll play another game. Chess. Alright, let's play till the next win, and then that's it. All right. I'm playing another game. I would normally play another game here, but like I said, I'm playing till next win and then out. So, uh, this game was, as you saw it, folks, just a lot of tactics. White broke through and did not relent. Let that calculate. One of the key moves. No, it just this happens sometimes. I think Rook takes a. Excuse me. Rook takes a3. Was a little bit unnerving because why would White be sacrificing the exchange quite early while already down a pawn? So I'm not sure if my opponent was wrong or right to capture it. I know that I was I was no. I know that I was right to initiate it. Uh, the idea here is that this bishop is huge, covering potential squares for the knight, covering potential, get me out of this cramped position squares for black. With pawn to d6 is now definitely not is definitely not good for black. Cutting into, black can't castle and craziness. Cutting into black has no dark squared bishop left. This bishop is huge. Also helping to pave the way with the stymieing the progress of the d pawn. White can jump on to d6. He's now supported twice, once by the bishop, once by the pawn, in a check that must move the king off his initial position. If, for instance, to f8, then, as we saw a similar theme in the game, bishop takes b7 check, a discovered check. The check must be answered, and there's no way to keep from losing the queen. So I'm telling you, this bishop is worth it for that rook. Worth it for that rook. Worth it for that rook. My opponent played shrewdly here. Knight to e7's the way to go. Blocking a lot of these tactics, getting a piece out, covering squares that otherwise would be used by white to rally a quick attack. The problem for me with knight to e7 isn't knight to e7, but where's the castle? This is almost, well, okay, I guess it was, maybe there is a problem with knight to e7, and it's white's move, knight to d6 check anyway. You move to d6 with check anyway. The king still has to move. The f7 pawn has only one defender, and that's the now homeless, or not homeless, the now wayward king. So this just, the rook sacrifice on a3 was fine. I'm really glad that I played it, and I think it's warranted. It was a good sacrifice. Study also. Yeah, it was a good move. I think that sacrifice is warranted, like I said. All right, now here we are. Let me pause this action. The king moves, and I'm moving knight to f4 to h4 for no other reason than it's just about the only square that makes any sense to move this knight. He's got to get the heck out of the way so that the queen can come to f3, and we're threatening checkmate with possible tactics in addition on the pinned pawn. That queen's going to be on f3. She's going to pin that pawn there. I do not care about the pawn on c4. If you ask me again, how much do I care about the pawn on c4? The answer is I do not care about the pawn on c4. And yeah, when the best move drops a rook, you know you're in trouble. So this was a really fun game to play. I made the right move here. Uh, sometimes it would be tempting to play queen takes c8 and have the trade thereafter, the trade of queens, and you're up some material. For, no way, no way am I playing that because of uh, knight to b7 check, the undiscovered check from way back when I concocted this idea of the uh, exchange sacrifice on a3. That check has now surfaced, and with fantastic effect. The queen's gone, and the rest is a matter of picking up the pieces here. We're offering queen sacrifices that get turned down, and now my opponent's got to be mated in the next move. Fantastic. Accurate, not as accurate. All right. Let's set this in the background. It's my new thing. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Gravitrons. I'm more gravity. Have a great night. And a happy new year to us all here on planet Earth. We all celebrate this new year. I'm told that this is a worldwide celebration of the end of one year and the entering of another year. So I hope we all had a happy and safe 2025. If we didn't, we're on our road towards recovery, or however that is. Let's have a happy and safe, and please God, a peaceful 2026. Happy New Year, everybody.